doctor. Fine, Dr.
Frager.
You found Let's Talk with Dr. Stan Frager, your life coach. Dr. Stan Frager is standing by to give you insight on issues that matter most to you. Call now, 571-2428. That's 571-2428 on 970 WGTK.
Hi, and welcome. Talking with Mr. Sean Buvala. He's author of Daddy-Teller, How to Be a Hero to Your Kids and Teach Them What's Really Important by Telling Them One Story at a Time. It's a fascinating book. It makes a great present, and Mr. Buvala has graciously offered to autograph, and we'll send it to you. On top of that, we'll also, for our next caller, give him the book, and we'll give him 2 tickets to Abbey Road, which is, if you're a Beatles fan at all, just for calling and talking with us. What a deal. I bribe my listeners unabashedly. What do you think, Mr. Buvala?
I think that you have a lot to offer people, and they should take advantage of the phone calls with or without the bribe.
There you go. He is smooth. He is good. Dr. Karam, we were talking about what Sean is talking about that's so important, that is really important in bonding with children.
Yeah, the official term attachment, which some people would think of this formative period from 6 months to 2 years, and it kind of sets the stage for later life, how you connect with these significant people in your life, your caregivers, your significant relationships. And a lot of men come into my office and they say, well, I'm very good at hands-on stuff with my child. We're going out, we're playing sports, but when it comes to actually being with them and talking to them, I'm not sure what to do. So I was curious, Sean, how do you kind of coach these men, kind of like your brother, that don't have this emotional intelligence, or at least they don't think they have it? How do you coach them how to develop these parts of themselves that lets them be good storytellers?
For some men, they've never been told exactly what you just said. They've never been told that it's okay to be nurturing to your kids. And I don't mean you have to do anything like what mom does, but they've never been told that it's okay to do that you're not less of a man because you communicate with your kids. You're not less of a man because you hold your babies close. They've never been told. And so for me, a lot of times it's giving guys permission to talk to their kids. And doesn't that seem rudimentary? But it's true.
Yeah, it's kind of normalizing. And I think also, if you don't have a blueprint from that, going back to what we said in the first hour, not having a father who was involved with you in that way, it's hard to think that you can do that. But it's really, for most men, maybe they don't practice it, or maybe they feel like, well, I couldn't possibly do that as good as my wife or as my child's mother, so I'm not even going to try. But if they just, tap into these natural things within them, they find they're probably better at it than they ever originally imagined.
I think men are much more right-brained than we give ourselves credit for. I think that the ability to create is a gift that men have more of than they recognize. And when the power of looking our kids in the eye, we're already huge to them, and I don't mean giant size, tall. We're already huge to our children. We are, especially in those young years, we're the biggest thing out there. And to take advantage of that and start laying the pathway, the groundwork, the foundation, whatever word you want to use, to build that relationship that's going to pay off in the future. Our teenagers don't start at 13. They start at 10 and 11 now. Adolescence is early. And that opportunity to build that foundation through storytelling, we're fools. We're fools if we let that go, if we miss that opportunity.
How about one of those great examples of one of those stories?
Well, on the website, we have a free download at daddyteller.com, and the story is The Mouse and the Lion. And what's wonderful about storytelling is people tell it in their own way, and I'll tell you one of the ways that I tell that story. Whoomp! The paw of the lion fell upon the little mouse who was just running around the cave. And the lion picked up that mouse and held it by the tail over its head and opened his jaws and said, "Now I shall eat you." And the mouse said, "Oh, no, wait a minute. Hold on here. You can't eat me. If you let me go, I'll help you someday." And the lion picked that mouse in his hands and his paws and looked at him and laughed. There is nothing someone so tiny as you could ever do for me. No, really, you should let me go and I'll help you someday. Well, with that, the lion said, this is just too funny. And he just tossed that little mouse right outside the cave. Now, sometime later, that very same lion was walking through the jungle step by step, and he came upon a great big pile of meat, and the lion was hungry, and so he crept up to that pile of meat. But as soon as he touched that meat, whoosh, he was caught up in a net. Whoosh, 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 it was a trap, and he was caught. He was caught in the trap, and the net swinging back and forth from a tree branch. A short time later, that very mouse, that was running around the cave, he came walking past, and the lion called out and said, "Will you help me? I need some help." And the mouse said, "Well, I think I can do something." And the mouse went up to that trap, that net, and he began to nibble until the lion fell out of that net. He was free. And from that day forward, both the lion and the mouse knew that even the smallest thing can make a huge difference.
Oh, I love that story.
Now, see, here's the thing about that story. If a dad picks up this book, gets the free download or whatever for just that story alone, and he feels silly going, "Yeah, maybe I could help you if you let me go." If he feels silly doing that, hey, he doesn't have to do that. You bring your own character to that. People will say, "Well, you tell stories so well," or whatever. I've been doing this for 25 years. I know those stories. But the dad who's a little nervous and says, "I don't want to sound like that," then he can simply have the mouse say, "If you let me go, I think I can help you in the future." You make it your own. You own that story your own way.
And Dr. Karam, what happens if you don't form that bonding or attachment with your young child?
Well, if you don't during that formal imprinting period, as we're saying, 6 months to 2 years, life becomes more of a challenge, not only for you as the parent, but certainly for that young child to form these significant relationships and know what to expect. So about 65% of children have a secure bond, as we'd say, a secure attachment style. So more than half of people are doing it right. But I think it's becoming attuned to your child and being okay that you don't know everything. You don't have to be perfect. As Sean was saying, I think it's true. When I'm playing with my 18-month-old son, I will notice I use voices that I use only for him. And I would be self-conscious about that. But when it's me and him and it's in the moment, I mean, one of the things he responds to is not only my presence. And I've had no coaching or these voices, just as Sean was saying, I make it my own. It comes from me, and that's what he's reacting to. Me being engaged, responsive to him in the moment. And I think that's really what we're talking about, not being afraid to step out of yourself and connect with your child. And I can't think of a better way than enjoying a story. And as you said, varying from the script. And I'll often start from the storybook at bedtime, but we often end up at a different place. And I can kind of credit my wife for that. I watched her. I said, you're not reading anything off the pages, but it seems like this beautiful, fluid story. And I'm back in the observer role, and I'm watching my wife and my son Charlie, and they're having a great time. But it's not the words on the pages, but it doesn't matter. So I'm glad you said that, Sean, because I think most people feel like they have to go by the script, but that's not what you're talking about here.
No, there's tremendous freedom. And the other side of attachment is that not only do dads attach or bond with their kids, but there was a study early 2000s in the American Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology that said that women who have the man in the situation, men still there present with the child, help the mothers breastfeed better. And we know what kind of an attachment thing that is. So we know that from studies that the presence of men in a child's life not only improves the bonding for the father, but also for the mother as well.
Yeah, and again, Amir emailed an interesting question about TV plays such a powerful influence on children along with the internet. Isn't this a way of figuring, of beating that a little bit, if you will, of having an attachment and overcoming some of the influence that the TV and the internet can have?
Yeah, there's all these substitutes for spending time with your child. And sometimes as a busy parent, if you're especially a you're working, your spouse is working, if you're in a single parent home, you need help. But to not have some type of dailiness, some type of routine with you and your child interacting or having fun through play, through story, I think that's a missed opportunity. And Sean, when you coach this is something that doesn't have to take a long amount of time, right? This can happen just a few brief moments on a routine basis, right?
Well, we're talking about 15 minutes a day. The power of doing something in 15 minutes a day to counteract the 4 hours of television even little children experience or media. So 15 minutes a day changes their lives.
We'll be right back with Dr. Karam and Mr. Buvala. I'm Stan Frager.